This is week 5 of Pathwork Lecture 37 on acceptance, right or wrong way, dignity and humility. And this is a 5-week cycle. We have to catch up with the calendar a couple times a month. And so I use it for various things. I experiment and play with it, which is fun. So doing a little commercial for acceptance, it is. It's just the way I have to do it. If I have a 4-week cycle, it doesn't fit the Julian calendar. So I just have to put a 5th week in 2-3 times a year. And this month, it was suggested that because I reference movies all the time, and because I have a collection of movies that are specifically useful as illustrations of pathwork concepts. Not all movies are, they're not meant to be, but some are really faithful to a certain goal or ideal. And so they're really great teaching movies, is what I call them. So I culled through them and I brought up some favorites, and I came up with different exercises for the different movies, and I put them into a Google Drive and said I'll leave them in the Google Drive through September. Do what you want with them, do the exercises, find your own movie. But I want to go through part of this experiment that I invited people to play with for this week. And basically, you could boil it down to 3 different ways to study pathwork concepts or anything else. The first was based on a sheet I got on how to read a lecture by a teacher years ago. Don't even know which teacher, don't even have the sheet. I just remembered the concept. And the idea was that when you read a lecture or book or news article or anything that you really want to grasp, that you read it with a pen and pencil and you write down the points that hit you as they hit you. And what you want to capture is between 5 and 10 or 5 and 15, but keep it as brief as possible, 5 or 10 concepts that that strike you, that leap off the page at you, that you get. Especially with Pathwork lectures, because there's a lot of words in Pathwork lectures and they're a little bit dry. It helps you stay focused on what is being spoken about. Now, I have converted that idea over the years of just writing down the 10 top topics, a word or phrase that tells you when this happened, or a time signature if you're watching a movie or a video or an audio recording, time signature and a few words to remind you what it was that triggered you and what you remembered, what you liked, what you saw, what you read. Over the years, I have found my own way with this, and it involves lifting the Pathwork lectures out of the PDF, the copy command, and plunking them into a Word document, word processing document, and then reading through, and whenever it feels like a shift has been made, I hit carriage return. And so it's another paragraph, but it's still attached. There's no spacing. And then when the idea completely changes, I put spaces in if there weren't any. And when I feel that a topic is being addressed, I'll go back and subtopic it. I'll put a few words saying, this is what this section feels like it's about. And that's how I enjoy reading a lecture like that or studying a lecture like that. So that by the end, either I'm enthused enough to make a study guide out of it, or at least I have a sense of what that lecture meant to me that day. Now, I was just saying to some people in this current meeting that 2 years later, it could completely change. So it's handy. And this was also taught to me about reading a lecture. It's handy to keep that list in a notebook someplace. And then when you read it again, a significant period of time later, a year or two, to notice how you see it differently. Now, why would you see it differently? Because you accepted part of it and you developed it. So some things aren't as important because you got it. It is, I got that. And then the new stuff is, oh, well, gee, I hadn't thought about that before. Now I'm ready to work with that. It's one of the things that people remark about lectures is they constantly seem to be refreshed. There's always something in it that you didn't see or that you can learn from that you hadn't seen before. So that's how to read a lecture. That's one. The second one, I suggested these movies, 4 of them, I think, and exercises to go with the movies, and said to people, substitute movies that you think might fit this exercise and watch your own movies. And take a look at that, and then use the method of writing things down while you're watching, and or watch and then rewatch. And in the rewatch, you're making notes. What is it? What sings to me? What beats change? And what is it? How does it matter to me? What do I see happening? That's 2, using movies, which is a popular form of entertainment. And the third, it's like if none of that works for you, and I like offering a lot of different things because I don't know individuals, and this may not appeal to some people. So if those 2 suggestions don't work, the third one was that I read a very small book. It was about that big, called Life as a Card Game. And it was one of those little wisdom books. And they said, pretend that life is a card game and you've got to play the cards you're dealt. Well, what cards were you dealt? What cards can't be changed in your life? For instance, I can't change the fact that I was born with a clear female gender. I can change gender, but I can't change the facts of my original birth. I can't change my original parentage. I can't change the culture status that I was born into. There are things I can't change until I have some, not liberty, sorry, can't figure out the word, until I have some authority and some independence. There's a lot of things I can't change. I just have to work with. So these are the cards that you're dealt. And then you can start to play them. You can start to use the cards like in a game. And how you play the cards is a matter of skill and knowledge and expertise that we don't have when we're children, but we have to play anyway. You have to play with the cards you're dealt. And so you could even look at that. How did I deal with that when I was a kid? How did I deal with that when I was a teenager? How did I deal with that when I was a young adult? So there are 3 examples of different ways you played the same cards. This is what I was dealt, and this is how I coped with it. This is how I managed it. Now, we think a child doesn't manage, but they do. A child is not a servant or a slave. It has its own personality, its own life task, which may be in accord with the parents and may be not in accord with the parents. So I found this little coffee table book, this little cute wisdom book, really fascinating. And I developed the equivalent of a board game about karma with it. And this is all on my website, all under Pathrick Lecture 37, as well as other things. And so what I was trying to do was create a fun week. So let's just leave it. I just wanted to create a fun week. Now, some people, and this is how we are, this is how we react. Some people reacted that I was insisting that they do the work and turn it in. Some people reacted that they had to do it all. They had to do all 3 stages, read lectures with notes, watch all the movies, do all the exercises, and play the life as a card game. It wasn't my intention, but you can protest as much as you want, and people will read instructions based on how they want to read instructions. But I would like to invite those people who are watching to play. You don't have to have attended a meeting or contacted me before, but I invited everyone to send me their results. And if I got enough of them, it would be fun to publish or put on the website, wow, this is what happened with these exercises. Now, we're a week into it, kind of, or almost a week into it, and I've only gotten 2 responses. They were great responses, but I only got 2. So I'm going to just stay open to this and hope that throughout the next month, people might reflect on this and have the time to look at something and share. Because just like in the meetings that we hold, it's really useful to see other people's take on things. Another thing that people are doing is they're saying, and there's this 5 movies and that 5 movies. And yes, there are. And could I have named them? Yes, I could have. And I would have been critiqued for, you want us to watch 20 movies in a single week. So can't win. But it's useful for me to hear those. I write things like this down and I reflect on them and may use them at a future time. So I was inviting any feedback anybody wants to give. So this is the end of the little video on week 5, which I hope is a fun week and a crazy week. And we'll just do different things kind of week. And then we'll get back to a straightforward look at the lectures after the 1st of September. So thanks for listening. Pathwick Lecture 37, Acceptance. Take care.